The rules of supply and demand are always in play in the job market. If you present yourself as a solution to a problem that's been costing the organization time, money, stress, headaches, and heartache, and you deliver your message with clarity, conviction, and reasonable proof, they will create a spot for you on their team. They cannot afford not to hire you if that's the case. There is always the exception that proves the rule. So always think positive and don't be turned away as easily as some people might like you to be. At this point in your job hunt, you're reaching out for a very tangible goal, a job interview. Cover letters are the most commonly used method to introduce your credentials to an employer, and they can serve as one of your strongest selling tools. You should avoid the standard, boring type of cover letters that employers receive every day. I'm very interested in a position with Motley Corporation as a program analyst. Enclosed, please find my resume. A letter like this basically says, hey, here's my resume. And that's all it says. Not a very impressive sales presentation, is it? And more importantly, it does nothing to distinguish you from the crowd of other applicants sending the very same kind of drab standard enclosure with their drab standard resumes. So be careful. So you should know that there are different letters for different purposes. There are many times during the implementation of your full search campaign where you will rely on a written letter to speak for you. The way you present yourself on paper can make or break your success during any phase of the job search process. Just think about all the different situations in which letters might be useful in opening doors, making a strong first impression, and keeping your candidacy on the front burner in the eyes of key decision makers. So, some of the type of letters that are out there are some of the basics letters that respond to an advertised opening. So, this is something that you see all the time online. Letters following up on a personal referral. Somebody referred you to a position, maybe at a company that they work for. Letter introducing yourself to a decision maker. A thank you letter after the first meeting, and maybe a follow up letter after multiple meetings or interviews. A response to a job offer letter. And we even have a letter for rejection, something you can respond to if you get rejected for a position. Hopefully, you won't have to use that. Letters, including emails, are the delivery method for most of your career communications, and they will almost always accompany the career documents in your toolkit. Things like your resume, your professional or personal references, professional and personal references, your biography, maybe some of your accomplishment stories. So I want to say at this point too that it must be said that cold approach letters when you don't know anyone at the employer is generally very ineffective. There may be some instances where it would be necessary to send a cold letter, but you should try to minimize these cases. Experience has shown again and again that the results of cold letter campaigns are extremely disappointing. Frankly, I think these types of letters are a waste of time. Instead, focus on warm job search letters to people who you do know, or at least to people to whom you have been referred through your network. You'll find that these warm referral letters garner a much higher response rate, and you can actually move forward or move your search forward. Okay. So there's a couple of rules of thumb that I want to talk about with a well written cover letter. And no matter what the purpose of your written communication, a well written cover letter should do the following things: direct the reader's attention toward the strongest aspects of your background and qualifications, and away from any weaknesses. Customize and personalize your message to each company and recipient. Now, I talked too about having a basic cover letter in your arsenal, in your toolkit. one that's definitely customizable. Highlight and expand upon the most relevant facts on your resume. Give new, relevant, customized information that is not included anywhere on your resume. So tell them a little story. Show how well you know the company, that you've done your homework, and that you're familiar with the challenges and opportunities in their particular industry, or better yet, at their organization in particular. And how do you find this out? Well, if you do some research on the company, even going to their website, you can find out maybe some of their challenges and some of their needs and what they're looking to do down the road. This will be very helpful to express you've done a little homework on them. Okay, so there are three basic parts to a cover letter, any kind of cover letter. It can be broken down into these. So, part one should be the introduction. Explain why you're writing to the employer. Did you see a job posting? Were you referred by a current employee or a vendor or a contractor that works for that company? Did you see one of their executives present at a conference? Did you read something in the press about the company? So be specific about your and use your research. Give the recipient of your correspondence a sense of your knowledge by referencing industry trends, specific events, or media coverage. This is the best way to demonstrate your interest. All right, part one. So part two is where we kind of get into the meat and potatoes, the sales presentation. To sell yourself effectively, tell the employer your qualifications and give examples of relevant experience you've had. The same elements that make your resume effective also work in your cover letter. Action words. Be brief. Be specific. Write about particular accomplishments and then use facts to back them up. You can just put a one line sentence about some activity you participated in and then the results you got. If you can quantify it, it's even better. Okay, part three is the wrap up and close. Be sure to restate in one sentence what you can do for the organization. You got to sell your value. Wrap up your letter as strongly as you opened it. Restate your interest in working for the company and why. Use genuine interest and enthusiasm. This is critical. You should close the letter by directly requesting a meeting or interview. Take charge of the process by stating a time frame in which you will call. Then follow up precisely as promised to demonstrate how responsible and professional you are. Again, another critical piece. Okay, in this process, I want to talk about one type of letter in particular that I think is very effective. It's called the perfect match letter. Not used very widely in the industries, but something I think is very, very different and will set you apart from other candidates. When responding to an advertised opening, or following up after a meeting or interview, or expressing an interest in pursuing an opportunity arising out of your networking activities, a particularly strong format for your letter is called the perfect match letter. All three of these situations are great opportunities to sell yourself by matching your experiences, strengths, and contributions to their problems, needs, and challenges. As I mentioned earlier, you can either find out what their promises and needs, what their problems, needs, and challenges are by looking at the job description, or reading about them on their website, or finding some other standard information about the company. So the format gets its name from the fact that your letter is divided into two columns with a space down the middle of the page, and your headings across the top give the body text an overall appearance of a two-column matching exercise. One side is, their challenges. The other side is your skills at that challenge, your experience. For example, their requirements are somebody that has 2 years of experience in Microsoft Excel. On your side of your skills, I have 8 years experience in Microsoft Excel. Match, line for line. The reason this format is so effective is that you're removing the work of having to connect the dots for the recipient, and that they can see clearly that you're a match for every criteria they're looking for. Now, you're not going to list every single need that they have in the job description. I would say four, maybe five that you can respond to, but you don't want to do every single one, right? Another compelling reason to master this type of letter is the fact that, in my experience, perfect match letters get up to a 75% response rate. 75% of the time you send a letter like this, you will receive a positive response. Whether that's just simply placing your name in the yes pile, or a phone call or meeting with a recruiter or screening interview with the hiring manager. You get the idea. So this is just a quick sort of review and overall picture of how important cover letters are and the different types that are out there. We can certainly work on these. I'll help you create one. I'll help you create a perfect match letter. We take a job description or a job opening and really deconstruct it down to what they're looking for and if you have the skills for it. How you need to tell people you have the skills to match what they're looking for. This is almost a guarantee that they're going to give you a call. Okay? So let's work on it. Give me a call. Cover letters are still critically important in this day. Gary Hines.